I need to tell my community and those families who are waiting, this will be a rough week. Primary search continues, and we remain hopeful every foot, every mile, every bend of the river.
The mayor of Kerrville, Texas, speaking to his community yesterday in the wake of the devastating flash flooding that swept through the region. We're going to go live to the hard-hit area as the death toll continues to rise and questions mount about the warning systems there. Plus, President Trump welcomes Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to the White House. We'll look at whether progress was made toward a ceasefire agreement in Gaza. And the Trump administration is facing backlash this morning after a DOJ and FBI investigation found convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein did not have a client list. We'll go through the right-wing anger toward the Attorney General on that. Good morning and welcome to Morning Joe. It's Tuesday, July 8th with Joe, Willie, and me here. And we start, Willie, this morning with the latest out of Central Texas.
Yeah, good morning, guys. The death toll, as you mentioned, Mika, from those devastating floods now has risen to more than 100 people across 6 counties. The majority of those killed in storm-ravaged Kerr County, where local officials say 28 children are among the dead. That county is where Camp Mystic is located, a beloved, nearly century-old summer camp for girls. Camp officials yesterday say they're grieving the loss of 27 campers and counselors following the catastrophic flooding on the Guadalupe River. 10 girls and 1 counselor from the camp still missing this morning. We're learning more as well about some of the victims of the deadly storm that swept through parts of the state. Blair and Brooke Harbor, just 11 and 13 years old, were vacationing with their family in Hunt, Texas, camping when pounding rain and floodwater ripped through the area. When rescuers recovered their bodies on Saturday, the sisters were found with their hands locked together. That's according to a relative. 4 days out now from those raging floods, rescue crews still not giving up on the search for survivors, continuing to comb through the region in their search. But more rain is expected in central Texas over the coming days. The National Weather Service extended some riverside flood watches and warnings through Thursday, telling residents to remain vigilant, Mika.
And as some officials in Texas continue to criticize the National Weather Service in the aftermath of the fatal floods, an investigation by NBC Dallas-Fort Worth found the agency first issued a warning 12 hours ahead of the surging waters. Troy Kimmel, an Austin-based meteorologist and emergency manager, told NBC he believes the Weather Service issued timely alerts with the best information available. The question remains, did those alerts reach the people who needed them the most? Hard-hit Kerr County does not have a weather siren system, in part because some local officials felt it was too expensive to install. The Weather Service says it added keywords to a late-night warning to automatically trigger wireless alerts on cell phones and weather radios in the area. But at Camp Mystic, where cell phones were not allowed, or in other rural areas of the county with limited service, many may not have received the alerts at all. Meanwhile, one Texas town had something its nearby neighbors did not have. Comfort, Texas recently updated its disaster alert system, installing a new siren in the volunteer fire department's headquarters and moving the old one to a low-lying area of town. Friday was the first time using the new two-tiered siren system. Officials say no one in Comfort died as a result of the floods, and perhaps, Willie, it was the sirens.
Yeah, it may have been, especially since we're talking about something that happened in the middle of the night when people are sleeping and maybe not hearing an alert or seeing one on their phone. Let's go to Texas, where we find NBC News senior national correspondent Jay Gray. He is in Kerrville this morning. Jay, what's the latest there?
Yeah, good morning, Willie, Mika, Joe. Let's start with that search, the rescue and the recovery. It is still going on around the clock here. Hundreds of first responders on the ground and in the air. We're several hours away from sunrise here, and we've already seen multiple choppers overhead using night vision. As you talk about, more than 100 have died as a result of the storms here. That number expected to grow. And officials for the first time acknowledging they're not really sure how many are missing at this point, saying, and I'm quoting here, it's a lot, dozens still missing as that search continues. I want to give you a look at some of the devastation left behind by these floodwaters. The family, an elderly couple and their daughter who were in this home, did manage to get out as the water rushed in, mud coating everything inside, and so they pulled what they can outside. And this is a scene replaying along the Guadalupe River right now. A lot of people trying to salvage anything they can from this wreckage, and really the pieces of so many lives scattered not only in the front and backyards of these homes, but for miles picked up by the water and pulled away. And this is a process that's going to continue for quite some time. They're, again, trying to find anything they can in this wreckage. And when you look at all of this, you get a picture of what's going on here. And it really is hard to rationalize when these families are telling you, with all that's been lost here, they're the lucky ones. But the perspective is real. They've seen what's been lost here, and they are struggling right now, grieving as they begin to make the turn towards some type of recovery that's going to be difficult. They're going to need some help, guys.
Jay, so many of these stories have touched the country, specifically the ones coming out of Camp Mystic, that beloved summer camp for girls down on the banks of the river. We know that the director of the camp, the longtime director of the camp, Dick Eastland, died trying to save some of these girls, was swept away as well. What more do we know coming out of the camp about numbers and who they may still be looking for?
Yeah, we know that at least 10 campers as well as a counselor are still missing, and so that's something that they are focused on here. And Willie, you make a great point. That camp's really an institution, not only here in the Hill Country, but across Texas. So many people have gone to that camp. It's 100 years old, and a lot of those who have been a part of the camp are returning. They're volunteering and trying to help and doing what they can, not only to help with the cleanup, with the recovery, and with the camp itself, but with so many who survive there, and trying to help them as they come to grips with what's happened and try to figure out how they're going to move forward.
You know, Jay, obviously, whenever hurricanes hit or any storms hit, there are always the questions that we're hearing now. I mean, sort of questions, what did the government do? How could they have done it better? I certainly heard it on the ground after Katrina, asking those questions about a Republican president, a Democratic governor, Democratic mayor. We heard it last year with Hurricane Helene and FEMA's response. I know you're on the ground day in, day out, talking to residents, talking to local officials, talking to healthcare workers. What are you hearing? What are the biggest questions right now that are arising in these first tragic days afterwards? What could government on all levels have done better?
Yeah, and Joe, I think you make some great points there. It is a frustration for so many here that there was not some type of warning system in place, that they did not have sirens, even though it was looked into by the council here and by so many across Kirk County. It just wasn't something they decided to do, and so that's very frustrating in light of all that's been lost. I have to be frank, while they do talk about that and while they do want to find answers for how to move forward, I don't think for the most part the people here in the strike zone are focused on finding fault right now. They're way too busy. They've got to clean up areas like this. They've got to bury those who've been recovered, lost, and they've got to try and find those that are still missing. And so it's definitely an issue. It's definitely a problem. And there are questions about how the warning system worked, and with areas that don't have cell service or where it's sketchy at best. There's got to be a better answer to all of this. But I'm going to be real honest. Right now, that's not the primary focus.
Of course not. NBC News senior national correspondent Jay Gray reporting live this morning from Kerrville, Texas. Thank you so much.
Mike.
We greatly appreciate it as always. And you know, Willie, those questions do come. They should come. But as Jay said, right now we're in the middle of an active search. I will say the thing that seems to stand out the most right now, obviously, is the decision not to spend about $50,000 on an early warning system for the area most grievously hit, just because they believed $50,000 was too expensive.
Yeah, there are a lot of those stories coming out in the details about warnings given or not given, and to these people camping on the banks of this river, to those sweet girls and the staff at Camp Mystic. Those questions will all be asked and investigated, and perhaps some things will change because of it. But yeah. I'm sure you too, Joe, have heard personal stories from people the way I have too. We've got friends in Dallas and Houston and all over the place who either had kids there or kids who used to go there, or they were counselors there, and what a special place this was, and how devastating, obviously, this is to the families who've lost children, those holding out some hope that their child may be found somehow, some way, all these days later now. It's just devastating and truly, truly heartbreaking. Yeah.